People are able to do that in their first 2 attempts only. So what is that one thing because of which you are not able to clear this examination? We thought for a moment, and something that I was able to come across was that I didn't had a plan for one complete examination cycle. You have to differentiate and compartmentalize the fact that one is your intellectual curiosity that is there, that you want to learn more and more about the topic. Second is that what is important from the examination perspective. I made it a point, I heard it from some toppers that mains is the core of it. You would put most of your efforts into mains examination, and that is true as well. Out of the total mark sheet that would be made finally, 86% of it would be your mains score only. Out of 2025, 1750 is only mains wala section. So it doesn't have to be an event. I always say this thing that people generally ask this question, sir, when do I start answer writing? When do I start practicing? So once you have started with your preparation, you have done some groundwork, let us say 1 month, you have read, gone through some of the topics, then start solving questions that are there from the previous year questions. This is basically a session for beginners who would be appearing the examination in the upcoming years, basically the next year or the next year. So we have planned this session in such a manner that we would be discussing some basic things about the preparation. Primarily, how can you plan it? How can you strategize it? The importance of plan, it becomes in itself, it becomes very critical in the sense that it will help you get a direction of your preparation in the sense that if you are not able to put things into order, then at some point of time after once you have started with, they will fall apart, and you would there is a possibility that you might become directionless after a point of time. So it becomes very important. So there's a story behind this. So I was not clearing the examination till my 4th attempt. So we sat with our mentor and we discussed all possible things that why we are not clearing it. And then our ma'am asked a very simple question that, Rohin, what do you think exactly? Tell me one reason that you are not able to clear this examination. And people are able to do that in their first 2 attempts only, sometimes first attempt, initial attempts. So what is that one thing because of which you are not able to clear this examination? We thought for a moment, and something that I was able to come across was that I didn't had a plan for one complete examination cycle. I mean, for all the attempts, we were studying so much, we were going through the reference books that were there, and we were doing everything that was possible and everything that was taught by some rank holders or some faculties, but we were not able to put those efforts into a single frame and bring out some good results out of it. So a basic plan that was lacking, a strategy of one complete examination cycle, how you would divide your efforts, how would you channelize your energy in a manner that it could give you some good results. So in today's session, we would try to address these basic areas, that how can you plan this upcoming year so that when the next time you are appearing for the examination, you have a clear mindset and you have a clear mandate as to how much things have you covered and what all are the things that you need to do. Okay, so we have divided the session. First, we will have our presentation from our end, within which we have designed a framework of one complete year under the UAP program that you must be knowing. So we would discuss all the things, that what are the important aspects of this preparation, what could be an ideal timeline which you guys can follow so that things might work out for you. In the end, we will take up the questions. So if you are having any question from in between the session, just note them down. We'll take them by the end of the session. So we'll with this, we'll formally start. Again, as I always give this caveat, that if you do not find anything useful in this session, you are free to sort of ignore that part of the session and take home things which you think that are suitable according to your learning trajectory. I mean, you have your own style of reading, learning and writing. So just take cues from here and modulate them in such a manner that they are best suitable for you guys. Okay, so we'll start with the basic slides. So under the UAP program, we have already discussed the criticality of how important a plan is. So we at Civilsdaily, we have designed that we have divided, instead of having there's approach that you follow all the GS papers that are there, your optional papers. But to simplify that particular thing, what we have done is that we follow an approach of micro themes, wherein we would be heavily discussing this particular aspect, micro theme, in the upcoming discussion as well. So basically, to give you a very brief idea, that all the GS papers, they have been divided into 20 different subjects. We are taking that history, economy, and all the subtopics that are there. So we have divided them into 20 major categories. Out of that, around 420 or more themes that might vary in some year or the other. So more than 400 major micro themes have been charted out of those, which we will take into account while we would be discussing. And within this as well, there are around 300. So all these data that we are putting before you, this has been based on the trend analysis of the questions that have been asked in the past years. So the previous year questions of at least 10 to 15 years, they have been thoroughly analyzed, and we have extracted these data that out of these themes, micro themes that we are discussing and that we would be covering up, there are around 300 micro themes from where more than 2 questions have been asked. There is a clear breakdown that I would be showing in the subsequent slides. So when you start your preparation, I think one of the most important things is that you ask yourself some of the basic questions. That would be, we have something in the framework. Apart from that, you can ask some very basic questions, and these questions will stay with you throughout your preparation, whether it is lasting for 1 year, 2 year, or 5 or 6 years, which happens for some of the candidates like me. So these basic questions, answers to which it will stay with you throughout your preparation. And whenever you are in shambles, whenever you are in doubt, and there comes a point when you feel that whether this preparation is worth it or not, it is these the clarity on these questions, basic foundational questions, that will help you sail through the uncertainties of this examination. And sometimes, even after giving all your efforts and all your energy, you would face situations that what else can I do? I mean, we have seen those times then when we used to literally sit and that we have read everything, all the books are before us, and what else can we do? At that point of time, it is these basic foundational questions that will help you, that why you have started the preparation in the first place. Okay, so have that clarity, have that purpose, so that you are not you do not become directionless or lost in this game. First is the some of the basic questions that you need to ask yourself and that you need to have a clarity over is, first would be the demand of the examination. I mean, guys, this is one thing that come to the mind of the students at a very late stage. For me, it was like after third attempt, after reading everything, we were thinking कि यार क्या कर लें ऐसा. So we came across these ideas कि we don't even know the basic demand of the examination. Someone told us a book list, and we have started reading that book list, and that is not helping us ultimately. So you need to have a clarity about what the demand is expecting, what the exam is expecting out of you, what are the things being into this particular job, being into this particular service, what would be the expectations, one on the academic part, and second the non-academic part, that is equally important, which I believe, which is your personality, your mindset, your attitude, that would be there. So have a clarity over that. And that you can gauge by the fact that just go through the services which you are preferring. You will get an idea that what is the kind of temperament that is needed with the administrators. Second would be how to be exam ready. So generally we have this tendency, we all have been asked this question from our parents, that how many hours did you study? What is your timetable? Show us the timetable, how much you are studying. So this particularly in today's time, especially with respect to UPSC, it has become a bit outdated, in the sense that many of the people who are clearing this examination, they are having a crunch of time. Many of them are clearing with the job. So we have come across this idea that your preparation, it necessarily doesn't have to be pegged with the number of hours that you are putting into. It has to be something that how productive you are when you are sitting with your books, and how smartly you are covering up things. That would be enough. So we would be discussing all these things. So how you have to be exam ready? So there are some basic points that are there, that the foundation part that would be there, it has to be very strong. We would be discussing that the foundation part, micro theme, and everything that I'm saying. So we primarily divided the session into the foundation part, the micro themes, limb sense, mains writing, and interview. So according to all the stages of the examination. Then ultimately everything boils down, third thing is that everything boils down to the fact that what is your score. I mean, the services that you are opting for, whether you would be getting that or not, it would all be decided by the fact that how much you are scoring into mains, whether you are getting your preferred cadres or not, your preferred services, that would all be decided by the score that you would be getting. So we need to have some objective framework by which we could ensure that we are able to score in a range so that we could land into services of our choice. So there is this thing that I was discussing it earlier as well, about the standard books that we generally read, the reference books that we generally read. So I mean, from the examination point of view, there's an issue with these standard books, which is that these have been framed in such a with a logic of pedagogy. I mean, if there's a book on economy by Ramesh Singh or Lakshmikant on polity, so these books have been designed in such a manner that they would cover all the aspects of that discipline. It would cover all the necessary things which one needs to understand for understanding that particular discipline. Okay, so these books have been designed in that manner. So what would be important from the examination point of view, that we have to do smartly, and we would try to find out some ways by which we could do that in the subsequent slides. Based on the three stages of the examination, we have tried to design your next 1 year into 5 different phases, and there are certain mistakes that are there within each of these phases that we generally commit. So we would be taking up the session from here within these 5 phases. We would elaborate on each one of them, and by the end we would give a timeline that attributing to each one of these phases, what would be an appropriate time, how much time you should devote yourself, so that you can bring something productive out of it. So just to give a brief check of it, phase 1, it would largely deal with the core books and foundational lectures. Phase 2, the GS wise PYQs, micro themes. We would be discussing the idea of micro theme in detail today. Next would be the prelims part, that you have to prelims ready, and acing the mains, and finally the interview stage. So we would take the first phase of this examination. I will discuss the timeline by the end of the session to put everything into perspective. Okay. So the first phase is the core books plus foundation. I mean, most of us are aware which all are the books that we would be reading, and for any lack of clarity or idea on which all you would be reading, just go through the books that have been suggested to you from the institutes that you are associated with. One, to go through the book list of some of the toppers and find out the common books that they have been referring to, and have a leap of faith on the fact that people have been clearing this examination by reading those books only. I mean, after a point of time, if some of us are unfortunate in the preparation, and if it takes a bit of long time, then we start looking for other sources that these things are not working, I'm not clearing this examination. So it is at this point of time that we need to have that faith that this is the book list that I've started with. You can amend in between, in the sense that you can have a rational look at whether they are actually the books that you need to refer. After having that clarity, just keep on revising. This is the only way people get into higher ranks. One of the biggest reason is that they have very limited resources. I would tell you that in the first and second attempts, I had 2 to 3 bookshelves that were there. And in all the subsequent attempts, what happened was that the books that I was collecting, the notebooks, the notes that I was having, they started gradually filtering out. And that was That was something that if I had done that thing earlier in the initials of my attempts, then I might have cleared this examination. So by the end, when I cleared this examination, I just had a very small bookshelf within which I had like 10 to 15 books and notebooks that were there, which I was constantly revising. So we would be discussing on the revision aspect as well. So we have discussed this idea that there would be 20 subjects, majorly there would be 20 subjects that we would be covering, and 10 subjects from that they would be focusing upon on the prelims aspect. So at Civilsdaily, we have divided this into the 4 big pillars that we generally call them. So these are generally the disciplines which forms the core of the humanities. 1, 2, also the curriculum that have been designed by UPSC. These four are the subjects. Looking at the previous year questions and the syllabus, we could say that these 4 subjects are something that contributes the maximum to this examination. Okay. So these again are polity, economics with agriculture, the geography and environment. There are other subjects as well. So we have categorized this all these subjects like based on the questions that have been asked and the micro themes that are there. So basically, just to give you a basic idea about micro themes, these are subtopics within a discipline which are important from an examination point of view. So within polity, there are around 37 topics that we have largely. So it would be somewhere around 37, 40 or a range that would be near to this. So these are the topics from which questions have been repeatedly asked in the examination. So if we are planning something, then our core of preparation, it would be based on the fact that you are focusing on these micro themes at the first go. Then if you are left with time, energy, and if there is felt need that I need to cover more, then you can go beyond these micro themes. So for each one of the disciplines, you would get these slides to get an idea. Geography, we have 37, polity 47, economics 51, environment 25 micro themes. Within that, there is a proper categorization as to how much questions have been asked in the mains stage and how much questions have been asked in the prelims stage. So you would have a fair idea about that. You can go through all the subjects that are there. Got it? We have to we have to be cautious about the fact that when we are doing the foundational work, that is needed. We all know the criticality of foundation of something. So it would become the base of your preparation. And if you are doing that thing at this point of time, then be very cautious about it. Be very disciplined and religious about it, and do those things with utmost clarity that you could put in, because these things are going to stay throughout your preparation. The basic notes that you would be making at this point of time for GS paper 1, paper 2, for all the GS papers and your optional, they would stay with you your entire preparation. So at this point of time, please do not have any casual attitude while you are going through the foundation books and the foundation things that are there. For that, you need not watch endless videos on these topics that you are doing some courses which are lasting for 2 years. That in itself becomes a bit challenging. So you have to be very rational as to how you would be covering these foundational areas. So as a solution to the issue that we do not fall in this trap of watching lots of foundation videos and all that, what could be a better way of going about it? It would be that we are focusing upon the 1 to 2 core books that are there. Just be mindful of the fact that your resource list has to be designed in a manner that one, you have a basic, the foundational book, and 1 reference books along with that. That would be it. Third would be the value addition part. So these would be the material that you would be referring at all the stages. So we would be discussing for the value addition part, the X factor notes that are there in the subsequent slides. So for the basic books, you need to have a clarity over the NCRTs that are there. Then the reference books that are there for each one of the subject, just have 1 reference books. And the thing about reference books is that you don't have to read the book from cover to cover, from starting to end. be very rational about it. When I was reading Ramesh Singh in my initial attempts, so what I did that I used to pick up the topics from the syllabus and I would directly go into the book and read only those. Like if there is a topic on multi-level planning, I would go to the index and see where is multi-level planning, read that and just go away, just done away with that. Shift from intake mode to revision and testing mode early. So this is primarily talking about that you have to come into that examination mode from the very initial of your preparation, in the sense that once you have covered the foundation things that are there, the recalling part, the revision part, it has to be designed in such a manner that you are not passively reading those things again and again. Rather than you are utilizing that particular content matter in such a manner that either you are solving questions, you are writing your answers, solving MCQs, so that you would have an idea as to how much you have to cover in that particular topic. Let us say we are reading something in polity. So we would attempt a paper, we would write an answer on that, we would attempt some objective questions, then we would get an idea as to how much depth more is required in that particular topic. Okay. So rather than having passive reading or passive recalling, follow the approach of active recalling or active, like you are writing something or things that I've discussed. Okay. So for this, Big Four gets the deepest attention part. What I did basically was that this was not something that I was able to do in my first attempt. So with subsequent attempts, I realized the fact that I have to focus upon certain things. So if there is something that has been designed in such a manner that it can tell you that these are the areas which you need to focus, that they are repeatedly asked in the examination. So I have divided in each one of the subjects. I used to make the zones, like in the index page, I would make a zone like circles, zone 1, zone 2. So zone 1 would form the core of it, and it would include all the topics and all the chapters that are most important from the examination perspective. Second would be the peripheral zone, within which lie some of the topics that are not that much good, but since they are mentioned in the syllabus, there are some topics within which the questions are not being asked, or the frequency of questions, it has drastically reduced. We would see those topics as well in our subsequent slides. So the most attention has to be given on the areas which gets repeated into the examination. So when we are talking about the foundational work that has to be done, so they have these annotated NCRTs, within which, I mean, it is just an idea as to how can you when you are going through your reference books, or when you are going through the basic books that are there, that you would have an approach, you have some idea as to how you can rationalize the content that is there, so that when the next time you go through that book, you particularly have this thing in mind, that these are the areas that I need to focus. I mean, you need not read the whole literature every time you are revising things up. So they have basically just for a reference, right, they have designed that for the green areas in the book, you would be seeing that from where PYQs have been asked. Blue areas indicates most important areas from where questions are possible, and the students should pay extra attention. Pink would be something that relates to the factual statements. So you can have your own ways of doing this exercise. I mean, using some other colors, some symbols, or anything of that sort that might help you. Now we come to the most important, the micro theme part. So this has been connected with the PYQs because these micro themes, they have, as I've discussed, these have been identified based upon the questions that have been asked in the past years. So just to give you a basic statistics of it, there are around 450 micro themes. So somewhere 420, 450, 430. So I was saying that these things would vary from year to year sometimes. And there are, within these 450, there would be around 300 micro themes which are having 3+ questions, and 75 common prelims and mains micro themes. So this categorization, that what are the 300 micro themes, which are common micro themes, we have categorization, we have done that categorization, and that you can go through them. Okay, so when we are referring to these micro themes approach, when we are trying to rationalize the efforts that we are putting, then we can take reference of some of the things, which would be that when like the X factor notes that you are having, or the micro theme specific notes, that the flash notes that they provide. So what you have to do is focus upon, when you are reading, revising things up, then you have to focus upon the topics that have been covered in the micro themes. Let us say in polity, they have identified 37 micro themes. So when you are in that stage that you have to revise things up, first the first work that you would do is that you would revise those 37 areas that are there, and then reading the full text again and again. So these things are getting a bit repeated, that you have to focus with high question certainty. So one thing that becomes important is that you have to understand within these micro themes as well. Let us say there is a topic, women and related issues in the society section, or globalization for that matter. So when you would be going through these micro theme studies, and then the PYQs that have been particularly asked. So if there is a question on globalization that has been asked in the past 5 to 7 years, you would look up at all the dimensions that have been covered. Sometimes they are asking its impact upon the family values. Sometimes they are asking social and cultural values. Sometimes on kinship values. Sometimes on consumer behavior. So different aspects and dimensions have been covered, and that goes for all the topics, for all the micro themes that are there, whether in geography, history. So they have been covering different aspects of each one of the topics, because the whole idea is that questions, they do not get repeated in UPSC. We all know that. It's just that the themes get repeated, and within these themes, what are the dimensions that they have already covered up. So when you are reading something up, when you are revising things up, then you already have this thing in mind, that these 5 different things about French Revolution have been asked. That what were the impacts of French Revolution, what were the causes of it, how can we relate that how French Revolution has contributed into the formation of a modern society. So when you would have a fair reading about these things, then you get an idea that when you are reading next time these things, then your mind would be conditioned in such a manner that whenever you would be reading something new, when you would be covering a new topic, then you would be looking it from that perspective, that these all are the dimensions that I have to look. Okay. Again, the same thing, that you don't have to reread the standard books line by line again and again. Just go through the micro themes, and so they've come with this idea that the exam isn't your 1000 page book. It is just the 450 micro themes. Stop reading, start selecting. So it doesn't mean that you stop reading. You have to smartly select the things and be very rational about it. So this is the categorization of micro themes that I was discussing. So they have done this exercise for all the prelims. So there would be for mains as well, prelims, polity, trend analysis, for modern history, for geography, for each one of the subjects. So we have opened this thing up, and within this, these areas have primarily been highlighted as the micro themes, like citizenship, writs, attorney general, emergency powers, so on and so forth. Then within these micro themes, what we can do, when we select these particular micro themes, then we would get the questions that, look, these 5 to 7 questions they have been asked. So they've attributed the number of questions that have been asked from each one of the micro themes that are there. So there cannot be a better way of looking at it when you are rationalizing your efforts, that you have that this is the topic, these number of questions have been asked. Then you would have this thing in mind, that what you have to particularly read. So there's micro theme, union, state and executive. These questions have been asked. Just click on one of these questions and you can attempt it. Okay. The Constitution of India classifies ministers into 4 ranks. So the Constitution doesn't do that. I think the political conventions that are there and the parliamentary conventions, they generally do this categorization into 4 categories. The total number of ministers in the union government shall not exceed 15%. So this is the constitutional amendment that was highlighted. So first would be incorrect, second correct. So option 2, yes, option 2. Micro loops. So one is that we have discussed the idea of micro themes, the overarching framework or overarching topics that are there. And within this, what can be a better way of looking at it? So this goes with the idea of micro loop that is there. So it works at two levels. And that analysis that we are just taking a reference as to how can we sort of look at the way in which questions have been framed in the examination. So generally it has been divided into two levels that are there. So we are taking this with an example of reverse, that the first level of questions that they generally are asked, that would largely be related to some of the facts that would be there. For example, with reference to the rivers, we are having this idea that its origin, its general flow, lakes and dams that are there, glaciers, waterfalls that would be there. Next level, which talks about the deeper or the attribute part of that particular topic. This is the nature of questions. So this thing has evolved over a period of time. Earlier, they used to ask very simple questions, that where this waterfall is, where this river originates from. Now they are going deeper into this. They are asking particularly about some deeper attributes. For instance, when they are talking about some river, let us say for Brahmaputra river, then they would be asking that it forms braided streams. They might ask that the western flowing peninsular rivers, they form estuaries, whereas the eastern flowing, they form deltas. So this does not involve a direct fact. It involves a deeper understanding of the issue that is there. So this idea has evolved since the curriculum has not been changed in the last around 15 years. It has been around 15 years. So these things have evolved over a period of time, the nature of questions that have been asked. So we have to be vigilant. While we are going through the PYQs, we will get an idea as to how the questions are evolving. And that would exactly feed into the fact that when we are reading something, we are brainstorming these things, we are discussing with our peers or with our teachers as to how within a particular topic questions have been evolving and how can we go around it. The borders that these rivers make, tributaries and confluence points. So they have taken some questions to explain this whole idea, that the level 1 questions that used to be asked, that which of the following rivers does not originate in India. So these are simple factual questions. Consider the following rivers. Which of the above rise from the Eastern Ghats? Then we have which of the above flow through the Arunachal Pradesh. So these basically is the level 1 questions that largely deals with the factual part, and these are the primary information. Like if you are reading this thing for polity, if you are reading things for, let us say, for economics, some topic, then these would be the foundational or the basic things that would be related. If it is inflation, then what is inflation? What are the causes of inflation? Now, the level 2 questions, they might be framed that how inflation can impact the exports, how it so that interconnection that starts to get complex sometimes. So that is the level 2 questions that we are talking about. So we have continued with the same example of river system only. The level 2 questions that might be asked here with reference to the Indus river system, which 4 rivers of them join the Indus directly. So this is not this is not a fact. You need to have that particular thing in mind. And all of you must have gone through the question that was asked this time. So everyone was confused. They've mixed history as well. That the Pleistocene question that was there, that was related to Yamuna. That was a very complex and well thought out question. So the nature of questions have been evolving, and so would be our approach. That when we are reading something, we would have this graded approach that first we are going to doing the foundational work, then gradually we would be building upon that. So if we are having this time of 1 year around, that goes for mains preparation and that goes for prelims preparation, that we'll start with the basics, and with small steps we would build it to a level that we are able to deal most of the questions. Again, Narmada river, it is talking about the Rift Valley that it forms. So basically they are talking about the deeper attributes that are related to. So these X factor notes, they are part of the value addition material. These things that I will be showing up to you. So the micro themes that we have done. Flash notes would be something that can be utilized while you are revising things up. So when you are revising things up, you have to be mindful of the fact that I've repeatedly said that you don't have to go through the whole literature again and again. You need to have some indicative keywords, indicative notes that would be there. So that thing could be catered from the flash notes that they have prepared. And the X factor notes that basically talks about within these micro themes, that what are the most important and the crucial dimensions on these particular topics, which could be covered up, so that we are able to deal most of the questions. So they have provided these X factor notes. So this is basically the value added part, that you are having quotations, you are having a basic understanding or analysis of that, arguments against. So you can go through this. Look, this idea of constitutionalism, constitutional morality, these are the themes which gets repeated almost every year. So if you are having a ready material, or at least an idea that while you are reading, you are not wasting your efforts mugging up on the charter acts that are there. You are not wasting your efforts that how constitution was made. Rather, the nature of questions that have evolved from it, be it the constitutional morality or the idea of constitutionalism, you are exactly reading the things which would be sufficient enough for you to write good answers. They have integrated the current affairs part as well, that is there. What are the different aspects of this particular topic? What does it look? They have covered this constitutional morality as well. What are the important pillars of it? What were the views of some of people of eminence like B.R. Ambedkar, judicial decisions that have been made in this regard? So there's a whole analysis that is done for each one of the micro themes that we have discussed for all the topics that is there. So you can go through these notes to have a clarity. When you go through such materials, what it does to you is that when you get an idea, so even if there is a topic which has not been covered in these topics, so your mind would start processing information in such a manner that it would largely cut the clutter that is there. So for most of the topics, be it the current affairs, so they might not be able to prepare for some of the current affairs. So while you are reading the newspapers, so these materials they are designed in a manner that when you are reading a new topic, you are reading your newspapers, you are reading some monthly compilation or current affairs compilation, then you exactly know that which all are the things that you have to pick and which all are the things that you have to leave. So you have picked a monthly compilation and you are going through it through the whole text of it. That doesn't add much value, because you would not be able to revise all the things that are there. So if you are not able to revise something, then that is not that cannot be used in the examination. You need to revise things up, and there's a limitation to human mind as well, to which we could process or accumulate the information. Third is the prelim sense. So we had a session earlier as well on prelim sense. So we are sort of categorizing the preparation into different phases. We have done the foundational work. We have divided into the micro themes that are there based on the PYQ analysis, and that what all are the things that we have to read, the flash notes that are there, the X factor notes, that the material that is there. Now we are proceeding with the idea of prelims sense. So within this, we have what we have done is that we have identified 100 next year questions per subject. So again, I'm saying this idea that themes get repeated, and that happens almost every year, apart from this year's examination. That was something. But if you would look at the paper in deeper, you would find some areas, let us say at least 40-50% of the paper, where the areas which have been asked, they would be something that either they were asked in the previous years. So I was seeing a question on deep ocean mission that was there this year. So that was asked in 2023 as well. So that these things, these areas gets repeated. So we need to have a track of such areas from each of the subjects. So what we have done is that of all the 3 steps that are there, First, again, that we are segregating things out, that what we have to read. And for each one of the subjects, we have identified 100 questions, next year questions. So they would cover the expanse of all of the syllabus. That they would include questions from the important micro themes that are there. Okay, government initiatives, micro themes expansion. So this idea of micro themes, it is not static, as I've said, in itself. Second is the elimination techniques. So when we are saying elimination techniques, so this basically relates to the idea that how smartly you are dealing with the paper. It doesn't that you would be able to eliminate this year. This thing was almost reversed by UPSC, that most of the logics, conventional logics that we were using, they have largely failed. But so there's a point of caution here. We have got a certain type of paper this year that would not radically or fundamentally change your idea of preparation that you have been doing. You have been preparing for this examination, let us say, or you are starting. What you can do, we cannot exactly predict what UPSC would do next year. So what we have to do is do the basic and the foundational things that we have been constantly doing. So if there was a change this year, that doesn't mean that every year the paper would be so uncertain. So these things, I think they would be taken care of from the next time. So while we are designing or having a plan for our preparation, we need to have this idea in mind that we cover things up in the conventional ways, because the conventional ways, they have some certainty to it. I mean, that is something that we can cover. I mean, we cannot go after chasing the uncertainties. By that, the preparation would be in such a manner that if we would be looking at it after 1 year or 2 years, then we would find that there's no order into it. And if you are accumulating a part of knowledge, or if you are doing something, so if there is lack of order in that, if there is lack of structuring into that, if there is lack of simplification in that particular aspect, then I mean, your personality is getting shaped within these years of preparation through the things that you are consuming, the way you are designing them up. So if there is a lack of order, then that would be reflected in your personality as well. So we would again be going with the same logics, and there would be additions if they would be done accordingly. Next is the practice part. So I would like to mention this thing just to simplify here for you guys, that there are two aspects to this preparation, and they are equally important. One is the reading part, where we are consuming contents from different sources that we have already discussed. Second would be the practice part. It is equally important. Sometimes students tend to ignore. I mean, the mind gets this escapist idea sometimes that I would read more and more, and I'm accumulating more and more information. I'm becoming more and more knowledgeable. That would help me in getting. So there were friends with me who know far better than me. When you start discussing with them of the topics, then I would hardly have 2 to 3 points, and they would be discussing those things at length. But to use that thing particularly, you have to differentiate and compartmentalize the fact that one is your intellectual curiosity that is there, that you want to learn more and more about the topic. Second is that what is important from the examination perspective. We have already discussed this idea that this examination is not about reading 1000 pages. It is about identifying those key areas, those key micro themes, by which we could exactly put our efforts in such a manner that from the examination perspective, we are getting the best results out of it. Again, test. So I was saying these two parts. The practice part is something that guys, I think we need to focus, and it doesn't have to be an event. I always say this thing, that people generally ask this question, sir, when do I start answer writing? When do I start practicing? So once you have started with your preparation, you have done some groundwork, let us say 1 month, you have gone through some of the topics, then start solving questions that are there from the previous year questions. Why you have to wait that I will first cover things up, then I will start answer writing? Because these things take time. Because any skill that is built, it takes time, because things are built gradually. you would do some errors, then you would learn, then you would repeat. So this is a whole cycle that is there. So it is better that you start things early, write the worst answer, solve the questions in the worst possible with the worst possible logics that are there, and you would see that if you have started with that, gradually you would be able to build that. When we have started with the preparation, and when we used to look at the copies of the toppers, then we used to think that how can someone write with such structuring, with such organization, that they are having an introduction, then points, 5 exact points that is related to that. But we had this faith in our mind that when we are approaching and going ahead, we have to do the conventional things. We have to go through the conventional pains that everyone has gone through. We have to do these things repeatedly. It is after that only that we would start getting comfortable into. Here comes the part of consistency. So if you are doing things repeatedly, whether it is answer writing or solving the questions, you would start feeling that empowerment within you, that you are building upon something. So have that faith and keep on following the conventional things that your mentors are telling to you, things that your teachers or some rank holders, which you find that they are giving some good advice. Follow them. They are going to help you. And we have to be very patient about when we are following these things up. Okay, things take time. Good things, they generally take time to build. Okay, so they've discussed this idea of what is prelim sense is about, attempting questions despite not knowing the precise answers. So they are basically dealing with the uncertain aspect of this, that we generally say that there is an element of uncertainty which is very high in this examination. So what are the ways that we can do? It is your practice by which you can ensure that the uncertain things can be dealt with. Why I am saying that? Because most of the things that we call uncertain, you would at some point or the other, you would be facing those things while you are practicing things up. You are solving your mock papers, you are solving questions up, then you would face similar challenges that you would otherwise face if you would not have solved those questions or those test papers. Okay, so again, we have to be very, we are in anything or every effort that we are putting into this preparation, it doesn't have to go haywire, that someone has told that solve all the PYQ. We have started solving all the PYQs, we have calculated the score, and then we left it. It doesn't have to be that way. If some people are saying repeatedly, then there must be some substance to it. People are saying that after they are getting selected, listen to at least 10 topper talks, and you would see that there would be some areas which are very common to all of these rank holders. So if things are working that way, then we can also go ahead with these things only. The role of tests that is there, I've already discussed that with practice, how we would be building upon things, and all the aspects, academic aspects, non-academic aspects. I always say this thing that apart from the academic component of this examination, there is a non-academic component that I have briefly discussed, that the challenges that you would be facing. So these things, they go hand in hand. Okay. For prelims, they have categorized again the micro themes. Within the micro themes also, they have these 3 categories, by which there are some micro themes or some areas which have been categorized as the blue up, within which the questions, the frequency of questions that is asked, either it has increased or it is more compared to other areas, which is in case of the consistent ones and the dying micro themes. So it happens that, look, digital payments, digital infrastructure, if we see the trend of it, total 9 questions have been asked in prelims from this section. If we see the time period 2008 to 15, so there was nothing as such like digital payments back then, on anything related to digital infrastructure. It is after this only that this thing has started coming into prominence. You would see that is reflected in the number of questions that have been asked as well. And that goes, so this trend analysis at least help us in rationalizing the efforts that we are putting in. These are the micro themes which are more or less static, from which questions are asked. Questions are asked from RBI. So, and there are certain aspects which are categorized as the dying micro themes. So this has been done for the economics section. So it is done for all the subjects, polity as well. So you can have some idea about this status here. Okay. अब इसमें भी they have elaborated that within budget fiscal policy which is under the blue up category, इसमें भी क्या important aspects हैं जो generally पूछे गए हैं जो कि हम cover कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. You can go through the details of these things. This is the most important and I would say most favorite part of me, the mains wala section. So I made it a point, I heard it from some toppers that mains is the core of it. You would put most of your efforts into mains examination, and that is true as well. Out of the total mark sheet that would be made finally, 86% of it would be your mains score only. Out of 2025, 1750 is only mains wala section. So 86% is mains only. So how can we ignorant about this part of the examination if we are planning something, some good rank or as a service of our desire? So this is an statistics that has been observed, that if you are scoring somewhere around 820 or 820 plus, then there is a high possibility that you would be in top 50, and that is true as well. That you make it to the lists somewhere around 740s, the pressure would be on interview on. So when we are discussing, I would tell you, many of you might have heard this, but I would again repeat this thing. When I wrote my first mains, I tried to put in all my efforts that year as well. I wrote some tests that year and revised things up. The mains went well. Then I got an interview call and I could not qualify that year. I got a score of 130 in the interview and a score of 765 in the mains. So the interview score was so less that despite having a decent score in mains, people were clearing with 765. Everyone was clearing who were having a score of that range. They were clearing this examination. I was not able to do that. Why? Of the poor score in interview. And why did that happen? That happened because I did not had a plan. I was planning and preparing for the mains examination from the last 4 to 5 years, and I did not knew what to do after mains. So the mains was over. I was roaming around and having no idea as to. So that's why I was emphasizing in the initial that have a plan of complete examination cycle. If you are attempting it 2027, then you must have a plan at least for December 2027 when your interviews generally start. So that would give you some energy, some encouragement as well. That you can manifest small things, and these things they do work. We have felt it during our preparation that if you are thinking good about something, that I would be writing mains here this year. So what I used to do during my third attempt as well, that I used to think that I would be writing mains the next year. So I used to keep a track of people who are writing mains this year. Next year I would be doing similar things. So these things they keep your mind lively. So this is what you can do. So carrying forward the story, in my fifth attempt when I cleared this examination. So after having a score of 130, I made it a point that I am decently good in mains. So I can pull that thing up to 800 or somewhere around 810. So that if I'm not able to score good in interview the next time as well, I'm able to have a buffer of marks so that I could at least make it to the list. In the fifth attempt, I again got the opportunity to write mains, and I put it all my efforts. So I had the material prepared from my third attempt, most of it. I wrote more and more. Like there used to be either I'm writing 5 to 7 questions or sometimes 10 questions at my home, or I'm writing test at the coaching centers. So this used to be, I used to overly focus on the writing part, to the extent that of the 60 days that we have got last year between the prelims and mains, I wrote somewhere around 30 full length mock papers, that too going on the center. So what I used to do is that I would go to the center, sit there for 6 hours, writing a paper 3 hours. I would go out, take a break in Sindhi Park or some other park somewhere around. I would have my lunch. I would again go to the examination center, take another paper and write the examination. The next day I would repeat the exercise. The next day I would repeat that. So this thing, I mean, I was having a good feeling after writing the mains that the mains went well. अच्छा गया यार, सारे पेपर्स टाइम पे कंप्लीट हो गए एंड ऐसे कोई एरिया नहीं थे विच ट्रबल्ड मी. एंड आई वॉज वेटिंग कि इंटरव्यू कॉल तो आ ही जाएगा, लास्ट ईयर भी आ गया था, जो कि आया. फिर इस साल ये किया था कि इंटरव्यू की प्रिपरेशन मैंने मेंस के जस्ट बाद में स्टार्ट कर दी. 15 दिन का गैप लिया एंड आई स्टार्टेड प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर द इंटरव्यू दिस टाइम. अब ये हुआ कि यार पहले वाले में काफ़ी इश्यूज थे कि चीज़ें कम्युनिकेट ही नहीं कर पाते थे. अपने आइडियाज़ को कैसे एक्सप्रेस करना है, कैसे सोचना है अगर आपको कोई टॉपिक दिया जाए, तो वो बेसिक चीज़ें कर ही नहीं पाते. बेसिक चीज़ें करी हमने. वी बिल्ट अपॉन दैट. इंटरव्यू कॉल आया और हुआ ऐसा कि मेंस का रिजल्ट आया, फिर इंटरव्यू का शेड्यूल आया, उसके 10 दिन बाद ही मेरा इंटरव्यू आ गया, ऑन 7th डे ओनली. सो हुआ. अब इसका फ़ायदा ये मैंने इसलिए आपको ये चीज़ बताई है कि आई हैड दिस प्लान ऑफ 1 कंप्लीट एग्जामिनेशन साइकिल. हैड इट बीन कि मैंने मेंस के रिजल्ट का वेट किया होता और उसके बाद प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट की होती, तो मेरे पास हार्डली 20-25 दिन होते, जिसमें कि अगेन वो चीज़ फिर आपके जो घोस्ट हैं पुराने, वो आके आपको परेशान करने लग जाते हैं. तो वो चीज़ थी. इंटरव्यू अच्छा गया, लगा कि बढ़िया होगा. अगेन इंटरव्यू में अच्छा स्कोर नहीं था मेरा दिस टाइम ऑल्सो. इट इज़ 165 ओनली. बट मेंस वाले जो एफर्ट्स थे, मेंस इज समथिंग जहाँ पे आप जितने एफर्ट्स डालोगे अपनी राइटिंग में, अपने कंटेंट में, वैल्यू एडिशन में, वो आपको डायरेक्टली आपकी मार्कशीट में रिफ्लेक्ट होंगे. इस टाइम 765 से द स्कोर जम्प्ड टू 851 मार्क्स. तो दैट वाज अ मेजर जंप. ठीक है. एंड इट हेल्प मी गेट अ ब्यूटीफुल रैंक, आई वुड से. ठीक है. तो इसलिए आई वॉज एम्फेसाइजिंग ऑन द फैक्ट कि मेंस कितना इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है आपके लिए. तो आपकी प्रिपरेशन का एक मेजर पार्ट आई ऑलवेज सजेस्ट इट टू स्टूडेंट्स कि वो मेंस वाले में होना चाहिए. उसमें भी जब आप प्रीलिम्स से पहले हो, पीपल जनरली से दैट यू हैव टू बी मेंस रेडी बिफोर प्रीलिम्स. इसमें ये है कि यार यू हैव कवर्ड एटलीस्ट 80 to 90% ऑफ, आई एम टेलिंग अकॉर्डिंग टू माई सेल्फ दैट 80 to 90% आपके जो पोर्शन है सारी जीएस पेपर से, वो सारे के सारे आप एटलीस्ट कंप्लीट कर लीजिए. सो दैट आपके पास जब 70 और डेज ही बच रहे हैं आजकल, 70-75 डेज, उसमें जैसे ही आपको फिर अपना प्रीलिम्स अच्छा करना है. सो यही है वो फेजेस. आप दिसंबर तक अपने मेंस को अच्छा कर ले रहे हो, 80-90% टॉपिक्स को आप कवर कर ले रहे हो, एक डिसेंट अमाउंट ऑफ आंसर राइटिंग आप कर ले रहे हो, ऐसे लिख ले रहे हो, फिर आप प्रीलिम्स में स्विच करा, आपने प्रीलिम्स अच्छे से दिया एंड यू हैव एंश्योर्ड कि जब आप पेपर दे के आ रहे हैं तो अराउंड 100 मार्क्स आप समवेयर लगा के चलिए, जिससे कि आप एक सेफ रेंज में रहते हैं. आपको इस चीज़ को इंश्योर करना है अगले 4 महीने में प्रीलिम्स वाले प्रिपरेशन. जैसे ही आपने किया, 2-3 दिन का ब्रेक लीजिए, अपने घर पे जाइए एंड स्टार्ट विद योर मेंस प्रिपरेशन. कहाँ से करेंगे? यू आर ऑलरेडी हैविंग द मटेरियल दैट इज देयर. अगले 15 दिन में एक अच्छा सा टाइट सा शेड्यूल बना के सारी चीज़ें रिवाइज कर लीजिए एंड स्टार्ट राइटिंग टेस्ट आफ्टर दैट. चीज़ें पढ़ते ही जाओगे यार, आप लास्ट तक पढ़ते जाते हैं. सेलेक्ट हो गए, अब दोबारा आप लोगों के लिए लेक्चर्स बनाने होते हैं, तो दोबारा सारी चीज़ें पढ़नी होती हैं. तो उसका तो पढ़ने का तो कोई अंत है ही नहीं यार. इट इज़ जस्ट कि आपको एक डिसेंट लेवल तक आपको चीज़ें कवर कर लेनी है, जो कि एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से आपको हेल्प कर दें. अगेन वही चीज़ें हैं यार, कुछ मिस्टेक्स होती हैं. लाइक मेंस में जनरली स्टूडेंट्स जो मिस्टेक्स करते हैं, जो फेटल 5 बोला है, इंट्रोडक्शन में कुछ इश्यूज आते हैं स्टूडेंट्स को कि एकदम से कुछ जेनरिक सा लिख दिया, कुछ वेग सा लिख दिया कि सिंस टाइम इमेमोरियल दिस हैज़ बीन हैपनिंग, एक स्टोरी सी लिख दी जिसमें कोई सेंस ही नहीं निकल के आया. द होल आइडिया ऑफ इंट्रोडक्शन इज दिस ओनली दैट यू आर एबल टू एक्सप्लेन इट टू द एग्जामिनर कि जो सेंट्रल थीम था इस क्वेश्चन का, मैंने उस चीज़ को एड्रेस कर दिया इंट्रोडक्शन में. एंड दैट वुड गिव अ गुड इंप्रेशन इन द एग्जामिनर्स माइंड दैट कि आपने अच्छी स्टार्ट कर दी है. देन इज योर मेन बॉडी पार्ट, जिसमें आप सारी जो डायमेंशंस दिए गए हैं उस क्वेश्चन में, उन चीज़ों को आप लिख रहे हैं. उसमें आपकी जो कंटेक्चुअल रेलेवेंस है ऑफ द कंटेंट दैट यू आर राइटिंग, दैट बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. मुझे फेडरलिज्म पे क्या आ रहा है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल मोरालिटी पे क्या आ रहा है, वो चीज़ इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है. क्वेश्चन में क्या पूछा है वो चीज़ इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाती है. ठीक है. देन अगेन आपका कंक्लूजन आता है. कंक्लूजन में जनरली बच्चे यही मिस्टेक करते हैं कि या तो कुछ उन्हें बता दिया कि किसी ने की कोई कोटेशन लिखना है, तो कुछ भी कोटेशन लिख के आ जाते हैं जिसका कोई रिलेवेंस ही नहीं है उससे, या फिर 2 लाइन का लास्ट में एक छोटा सा रिमार्क नोट सा लिख दिया. तो एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चरिंग आपकी होनी चाहिए. आई ऑलवेज से दिस थिंग कि एक अच्छा स्कोर विच इज़ 100, 110 और प्लस दैट, प्लस 90 का स्कोर, 80 का स्कोर, वो डिफरेंस आता है आपकी कॉपी की कंसिस्टेंसी में. कि आपने जब क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 से स्टार्ट किया, उससे लेके क्वेश्चन नंबर 20 तक आप वो कंसिस्टेंसी मेंटेन कर पा रहे हैं। कंसिस्टेंसी इन सेंस ऑफ कि आपकी जो स्ट्रक्चरिंग है आंसर्स की, वो उसी ऑर्डर में है या नहीं है। आपका जो कंटेंट है, जरूरी नहीं है कि यार आपको सारे कॉम्प्लेक्स पॉइंट लिखने हो, सारे बेस्ट एग्जांपल्स आपको याद हो, जरूरी नहीं है। एकदम सिंपल सिंपल चीज़ें लिखिए। मैं एकदम जेनरिक लिखता था, लेकिन आइडिया ये था कि यार वो क्वेश्चन की डिमांड को कैटर करें वो सारी की सारी चीज़ें। एंड व्हेन आई एम फ्लिपिंग थ्रू माय कॉपी फ्रॉम क्वेश्चन नंबर 1 टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 20, इट इज ऑलमोस्ट द सेम। आई हैव बीन पार्ट ऑफ इवेल्युएशन एट सम ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूट्स, तो ये चीज़ हमें रियलाइज हुई वहाँ पे चेक करते करते मुझे कि यार एक कॉपी जिसमें 5-7 बहुत अच्छे आंसर्स लिखे हैं, 2-3 को थोड़ा एवरेज लिखा है, बाकी खराब कर दिए। कंपेयर दिस कॉपी विद द कॉपी जो कि उसके मुकाबले जो उसने अच्छे क्वेश्चंस लिखे थे, बहुत जेनरिक से आंसर्स है, लेकिन वो कंसिस्टेंसी है शुरुआत से लेकर लास्ट तक। दैट स्टूडेंट वुड ऑलवेज बीट समवन हुज। तो एक्सट्रीमिटी को हमेशा ही कंसिस्टेंसी होगी किसी चीज़ में, वो हमेशा बीट करती है यार, ठीक है। अगेन थीम वाली चीज़ें रहेंगी, हर डिसिप्लिन को थीम के हिसाब से, उसकी डिमांड को समझते हुए क्या थीम हाईलाइट किया गया है क्वेश्चन में, उसके हिसाब से आप प्रिपेयर कीजिए। द DAE अप्रोच, अगेन दिस समथिंग यार, एक्स फैक्टर पॉइंट से यही कि जो वैल्यू एडिशन पार्ट होगा जिसमें कि डिफरेंट चीज़ें हो सकती हैं। अब इसमें भी ये आता है कि यार कुछ मतलब कई बार क्या होता है कि कुछ रैंकर्स की कॉपी रिवॉर्ड हो जाती हैं कुछ साल, तो ये होता है कि हर पॉइंट में एग्जाम्पल लिख रहे हैं, अब उसमें क्या होता है, सब बच्चे उसको जब मैकेनिकली फॉलो करने लग जाते हैं उस पर्टिकुलर चीज़ को, तो उससे इशू ये आता है कि यार एक तो उसका जो पूरा सेंस होता है उसको किल कर देते हैं। कई बार उन्हें ये दिमाग में रहता है कि यार मैंने फेडरलिज्म पे 10 वैल्यूएटेड पॉइंट तैयार किए हैं, या किसी भी और टॉपिक पे जैसे ही क्वेश्चन आएगा मैं सारे के सारे वो एग्जाम्पल्स पुट इन करने वाला हूँ। अब जरूरी नहीं है कि सारे एग्जाम्पल्स वहाँ पे आप पुट इन कर पाओ। इट इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट कि आप जो भी चीज़ें लिख रहे हो, एक चीज़ हमेशा ध्यान रखना कि जो चीज़ें आप लिख रहे हो वो डायरेक्टली रिलेट होनी चाहिए कि क्वेश्चन में क्या पूछा गया है। कोई भी पॉइंट हो, हर क्वेश्चन में लिख दिया एथिक्स की अकाउंटेबिलिटी, लिख सकते हो, कोई इशू नहीं है, लेकिन आपको समझाना पड़ेगा कि जब आप अकाउंटेबिलिटी उस पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन में लिख रहे हो तो हाउ दैट इज रिलेटिंग टू द डिमांड ऑफ द क्वेश्चन दैट इज देयर, ठीक है। ऐसे में दिस इज थेसिस एंटीथेसिस और सिंथेसिस वाला फ्रेमवर्क निकल के आता है दैट पीपल जनरली फॉलो। A mechanical approach, that pestle approach, SDG approach that used to be there. So this is not working in last 2 to 3 years. हम लोगों ने वो इशू फेस किया है, ऐसे में नहीं अच्छे मार्क्स आए, इसी चीज़ को फॉलो करते थे। फिर I've seen copies of some of the toppers like हर्षिता गोयल, जो कि एकदम फ्लूइड लिख रहे हैं, एकदम नेचुरल तरीके से, जैसे हम लोग बातचीत कर रहे हैं एकदम उस तरीके से लिख रहे हैं कि यार मैं इस टॉपिक से क्या समझा और किस तरीके से थोड़ा बहुत अपना जो चीज़ें हम लोगों ने पढ़ी हैं जनरल स्टडीज़ में उनको कैसे यूटिलाइज कर सकते हैं कि थोड़ा सा वो चीज़ मतलब एक अच्छा लिटरेचर आप बेसिकली पुट इन कर पा रहे हो। उसको 3 मेजर पिलर्स होंगे। जो भी क्वेश्चन इन लोगों ने लिखा है, जो क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछा जाता है, उसको 3 सेक्शन में डिवाइड करना है। thesis part which would have arguments, 5 to 10 arguments which would support the statement question that is there. Then the antithesis part that would be there. So I would give an example. मैंने इस साल क्वेश्चन लिखा था कि thoughts find a world and create one also. So this was a essay question in 2025. I attempted this question. The basic framework was this only, the thesis part, where I would support that how thoughts find a world, how thoughts create a world. तो इसमें यार जितनी भी ह्यूमन इन्वेंशंस हो गए, सारी चीज़ें वो थॉट्स की ही देन है कहीं ना कहीं। किसी ने कुछ सोचा होगा कि यार कितना अंधेरा हो रखा है, कुछ लाइट जैसा कुछ हो सकता है क्या इस अंधेरे को दूर करने के लिए। जो भी जितने इन्वेंशंस हुए हैं उसके एग्जाम्पल्स आप लिख सकते हैं। इसका एंटीथेसिस क्या आएगा? एंटीथेसिस क्यों, ये भी समझ लेते हैं कि क्यों वो चीज़ जरूरी है। वो जरूरी इसलिए है क्योंकि आपकी अप्रोच बैलेंस्ड रहे। क्यों ये चीज़ें रिवॉर्ड करी जाती है यूपीएससी के एसेस में कि आप इस तरीके से सोचें, जब भी किसी चीज़ के बारे में सोच रहे हैं, कि आप उस चीज़ को कहीं ना कहीं उसमें एक मेरिट भी देख रहे हैं, कहीं ना कहीं उसमें एक डीमेरिट भी देख रहे हैं कि यार इस पूरे आइडिया में एक कमी भी हो सकती है। क्योंकि कोई भी चीज़ अपने आप में, कोई भी थॉट अपने आप में एब्सोल्यूट नहीं है कि वो एब्सोल्यूटली करेक्ट है। तो एक बैलेंस्ड अप्रोच आएगी, और एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर के लिए एक बैलेंस्ड अप्रोच होना, आई थिंक वो चीज़ काफ़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है, जिससे कि वो इम्पार्शियल रह सके व्हेन दे आर कंडक्टिंग। ठीक है, तो एंटीथेसिस पार्ट क्या लिखा कि thoughts not only find a world or create a world, but it can disturb the world also. कि किस तरीके से अगर किसी के एविल थॉट्स हैं, अब वो इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे भी हो सकते हैं, हम खुद के बारे में कुछ बुरा सोच रहे हैं, खुद को सेल्फ हार्म कर रहे हैं, आप उसको बिल्ड कीजिए। आर्ग्यूमेंट्स कैसे बिल्ड होते हैं, सेल्फ पे आपने रखा, सोसाइटल लेवल पे किसी के थॉट्स रहे होंगे कि जो एविल प्रैक्टिसेस अपने सोसाइटी में देखने को मिलती हैं, किसी ने तो सोचा ही होगा कि यार किसी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे। फिर आता है कि उसको एक लेवल ऊपर ले जाइए, बिन लादेन हो गया, हिटलर हो गया, ऐसे लोगों की आइडियाज़ ने कितना ह्यूमैनिटी को कितना हार्म किया है, वी ऑल नो दैट। सो दिस इज हाउ यू बिल्ड। लास्ट में आता है फिर सिंथेसिस वाला पार्ट कि आप इन आर्ग्यूमेंट्स को एक जगह लेके आएंगे एंड उसमें एक अच्छा पर्सपेक्टिव अपना एक जो कि आपके विजन को थोड़ा सा रिफ्लेक्ट करे उसको लेके आएंगे। अब इसमें हम लिख सकते हैं कि फाइंड एंड क्रिएटेड अ वर्ल्ड, डिस्ट्रक्टेड अ वर्ल्ड, नाउ अब आगे क्या, किस तरीके से हम अपने थॉट्स को बेहतर बना सकते हैं, किस तरीके से हम अपने थॉट्स को शेप करें कि जो आगे की दुनिया हम बनाएंगे, हम लोग जो जनरेशन है वो किस तरीके से एक अच्छी दुनिया का निर्माण कर सकते हैं। उसमें ये जो सारे इश्यूज हैं, चाहे टेररिज्म का हो गया, क्लाइमेट चेंज का हो गया, चाहे पॉवर्टी हो गया, हंगर हो गया, ऐसे इश्यूज को इसमें हम अगेन एसडीजीज ला सकते हैं कि एसडीजीज का जो आइडिया है, जो थॉट है, वो एक अच्छे वर्ल्ड को क्रिएट करेगा आगे जाके। सो ये एक बेसिक फ्रेमवर्क एक एग्जाम्पल के थ्रू हम देख सकते हैं। अब ये चीज़ समझाई गई है कि यार कैसे जो वैल्यू एडिशन वाला पार्ट है, जो एक्स फैक्टर और जो सारी चीज़ें डिस्कस कर रहे हैं। सो दिस वाज अ कॉपी ऑफ शक्ति दुबे मैम। तो हमने भी जब ये कॉपी फर्स्ट टाइम देखी, इनका रिजल्ट आया, तो जनरली एक क्यूरियोसिटी रहती थी, उस समय मेंस की प्रिपरेशन कर रहे थे कि यार कैसा लिखा होगा उन्होंने। तो इनकी कॉपी देखी, फिर आप फॉर्चुनेटली बोलो या अनफॉर्चुनेटली, हमने पहला आंसर यही देखा और ये काफ़ी फेमस भी हो गया था क्योंकि इसमें बहुत जेनरिक सी चीज़ें लिखी है इन्होंने, प्रॉपर डिमांड को भी एड्रेस नहीं किया गया। तो हमें लगा कि यार यूपीएससी क्या कर रहा है ऐसे आंसर्स। बाद में पता चला कि ये उनकी पुरानी कॉपी थी। अब उसमें कैसे बिल्ड किया उन्होंने, ये उनके इनिशियल अटेम्प्ट्स किया पहले की रही होगी, मतलब प्रॉपरली इस क्वेश्चन को एड्रेस नहीं किया गया है, कंक्लूजन इतना बड़ा कर दिया है। अब ये पॉइंट्स लिख दिए, इन पॉइंट्स का क्या मतलब है क्वेश्चन की डिमांड के हिसाब से, वो समझाना भी इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है यार। अब कैसे उसी क्वेश्चन को इन्होंने कैरी फॉरवर्ड किया है दूसरे फॉर्म में, किस तरीके से उन्होंने इसमें वैल्यू एडिशन किया। अब ये सारी चीज़ें होती है वैल्यू एडिशन, जो एक्स फैक्टर जिसकी हम बात कर रहे हैं। थिंकर्स और कोड्स को हमने मेंशन कर दिया, अच्छे एग्जांपल्स ले लिए। और ये जो चीज़ें हैं एग्जांपल्स वाली, ये ऐसा है कि यार आपको मतलब एक तो है कि आपके पास जो रेडीमेड मटेरियल्स आपको मिलते हैं वहाँ से आप देखते रहिए। दूसरा, आप जब भी कोई चीज़ें देख रहे हैं अपने मोबाइल में ऐसी चीज़ रखिए, या कि डिफरेंट सेक्शंस बना लीजिए कि आप जा रहे हैं कहीं, देख रहे हैं, आपने कुछ देख लिया, उस चीज़ को लिख लीजिए आप उसी समय मोबाइल में कि यार ऐसा कोई एग्जांपल मैं कहीं काम में ले सकता हूँ। तो इस तरीके से देखेंगे कि आप एक अच्छे ऑब्जर्वेंट सिटीजन भी बनेंगे, इससे कि आप जहाँ कहीं भी जा रहे हैं चीज़ों को एक अच्छे नज़रिए से आप देखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। जो चीज़ें आप सीख रहे हैं एक्चुअल में, उन चीज़ों को रियल वर्ल्ड में भी आप थोड़ा सा देखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। एंड दैट वुड ऑल्सो फीड इन टू द एग्जामिनेशन, कि जब आपको ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन एग्जामिनेशन में आएगी तो आपने अपना एटीट्यूड इस तरीके से बिल्ड कर लिया, अपनी थिंकिंग को ऐसे बिल्ड कर लिया कि यू आर थिंकिंग अबाउट समथिंग एट मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम। तो ऐसी कोई सिचुएशन रियल टाइम में जब आपको एग्जामिनेशन में आएगी तो यू वुड बी एबल टू डील विद दैट। अगेन स्ट्रक्चरिंग वाला प्रेजेंटेशन, मुझे लगता है सबसे पहले आता है कॉन्टेक्चुअल रेलेवेंस, कि आपने कितने अच्छे से क्वेश्चन को एड्रेस किया है। दूसरा आता है आपकी प्रेजेंटेशन में दिस इज़ अ वेरी सिंपल आइडिया, इसको ज़्यादा कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं करते हम, कि आपके सामने एक अच्छी कॉपी है, वो कॉपी शुरुआत से लेके लास्ट तक अच्छी है। अच्छी कैसे, एग्जामिनर के पास कितना ही टाइम होता है यार, वो कॉपी देखेगा, उसे एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रक्चर दिख रहा है, जो आईबीसी फ्रेमवर्क हम जनरली बोलते हैं, इंट्रो, बॉडी, कंक्लूजन। वो देख रहे हैं कि एक अच्छा इंट्रोडक्शन दिख रहा है जो कि रेलेवेंट है। बाद में देख रहे हैं कि 2 डिमांड थी क्वेश्चन की या 3 डिमांड थी क्वेश्चन की। बच्चे ने पहले डिमांड की हेडिंग लगाई, उसमें 4 या 5 पॉइंट रेलेवेंट पॉइंट्स लिखे, उनको क्वेश्चन के हिसाब से एक्सप्लेन किया। सेम गोज फॉर द सेकेंड डायमेंशन, लास्ट में कंक्लूड किया, बात खत्म। इतना सिंपल है ये चीज़। आपने वो सेम चीज़ रिपीटेडली, एग्जामिनर के लिए वो चीज़ आपने आसान बना दी। आइडिया यही है कि जितना आसान आप एग्जामिनर के लिए बना दोगे उतनी ही आपके लिए चीज़ें आसान हो जाएंगी व्हेन इट वुड कम टू स्कोरिंग। तो यहाँ पे प्रेजेंटेशन वाला पार्ट, इसमें भी अगेन सारी तमाम चीज़ें आ जाती हैं। आपकी स्ट्रक्चरिंग होगी, आप किस तरीके से डायग्राम्स को इंटीग्रेट कर रहे हैं, आप किस तरीके से हेडिंग्स लिख रहे हैं, पॉइंट हेडिंग्स क्या हैं, आप जो डेटा लिख रहे हैं उसको कैसे हाईलाइट करते हैं आप, वो सारी चीज़ें यहाँ निकल के आ जाती हैं। सो आई थिंक हाँ, दिस इज़ द लास्ट स्लाइड, जो कि हम टाइमलाइन की जिसकी बात कर रहे थे, कि
जो ईयर लॉन्ग टाइमलाइन है, बेसिकली इसमें थोड़ा सा गड़बड़ हो गया है, पिछले साल के हिसाब से ये है, तो इसको अभी के हिसाब से हम देख लेंगे जनरली कि आइडिया वही है कि यार यू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम बिल्डिंग फ्रॉम द बेसिक्स टू द एडवांस लेवल, जिसमें यही सारी चीज़ें कि बिग 4 के जो सारे सब्जेक्ट्स हैं पहले हम उनको कवर करेंगे। जैसे ही हम इस चीज़ को कवर करते हैं तो यू वुड हिट, मतलब द आइडिया इज कि यू वुड हिट द 50 परसेंटाइल ऑफ द कॉम्पिटिशन, कि आप मतलब एटलीस्ट 50% क्राउड से आप आगे आ चुके हैं इस कंपटीशन में, क्योंकि स्टूडेंट्स घूमते रहते हैं यार जनरली, इधर से किताबें कलेक्ट कर ली, वहाँ से कर ली, उनके जाके देखो तो एक एक पे 5-5, एक सब्जेक्ट पे 5-5 किताबें, तो एग्जाम पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से वो चीज़ हेल्प नहीं करेगी आपको बिल्कुल भी। ठीक, बिग 4 उसमें सारी की सारी वही चीज़ें रहेंगी कि एकदम जो प्रिसाइजली है उन्हीं चीज़ों को हम देखेंगे, माइक्रो थीम्स को फॉलो करेंगे, देन वी हैव टू बी मेंस रेडी। तो मैं इसको थोड़ा सा और सिंप्लीफाई कर देता हूँ आपके लिए इन द डिस्कशन, कि जहाँ से अब अगर 27 का हम लोग प्लान कर रहे हैं तो इस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम पे जो बेसिक फाउंडेशनल किताबें हैं, जो रेफरेंस बुक हैं, एक एक बार पढ़ लीजिए उनको, ताकि फॉर्म न रहे कि यार मैंने लक्ष्मीकांत पूरी नहीं पढ़ी है। एक बार उठाई लक्ष्मीकांत, पूरा पढ़ लिया, फिर देखो माइक्रो थीम्स क्या है उसके अंदर, माइक्रो थीम्स की लिस्ट है, उन पे आप फोकस कीजिए। फिर वो कैटेगराइजेशन आ जाता है जोन्स वाला, जोन 1 जोन 2। ठीक है, पहले जोन 1 पे फोकस करेंगे, जो कि एरियाज हैं, जो कि माइक्रो थीम्स है, उस पर फोकस करेंगे। ये काम आपका चलेगा अगले 3-4 महीने तक। साथ ही साथ कुछ बेसिक राइटिंग स्टार्ट कर दीजिए, एक दिन लिख लिया, एक दिन छोड़ के एक दिन लिख दिया। जरूर नहीं है कि आपको 5 क्वेश्चन 10 क्वेश्चन, एक क्वेश्चन बैठ के लिखिए आधे घंटे, उसको सोचिए कि यार किस तरीके से मैं इसको और बेहतर बना सकता था। फिर ग्रेजुअली वो चीज़ बिल्ड होती जाएगी एंड यू वुड सी कि 2-3 मंथ्स के बाद में अगर आप कंसिस्टेंट हो, यू वुड सी कि यू आर राइटिंग गुड इनफ आंसर्स। उसके बाद कंपैरिजन स्टार्ट करना, अभी मत टॉपर्स की कॉपीज एक रेफरेंस के लिए उन्हें देख लेना, उनको कंपैरिजन के मोड में मत लेना कि यार इस क्वेश्चन पे ये तो कितना अच्छा आंसर लिख गए। उनकी सालों की मेहनत रहती है यार हर किसी की, ठीक है, तो उससे हमें कंपेयर करने की ज़रूरत भी नहीं है। उसके बाद आता है आपका, इसमें भी इन लोगों ने जो स्मैश मेंस वाला जो चीज़ है कि जब आप सितंबर अक्टूबर के अराउंड आओ तो अगले 1-2 महीने जम के लिखो यार। आप अभी आप अगले 3-4 महीने एक 2 क्वेश्चन, एक 2 क्वेश्चन, जो एक स्किल सेट होता है क्वेश्चन को लिखने का, स्ट्रक्चरिंग से रिलेटेड, प्रेजेंटेशन से रिलेटेड, डायग्राम बनाने से रिलेटेड, वो बेसिक जो स्किल सेट है आप उसको डेवलप करेंगे। और आप ये देखेंगे कि सितंबर के बाद समवेयर, उसके बाद आप फुल लेंथ पेपर्स, एटलीस्ट 5-10 फुल लेंथ पेपर्स लगा लीजिए। ज़्यादा भी नहीं तो 2-2 पेपर आप लोगों ने सारे जीएस पेपर्स के लगा लिए, 3-4 पेपर आपने उसके लगा लिए। जब मैं बात कर रहा हूँ कि आप क्वेश्चंस लिखेंगे इस समय, जो मेन टाइम होता है उसमें आप PYQs केवल लिखेंगे। कहीं रैंडम किसी वेबसाइट से कोई क्वेश्चन उठा लिया, करंट अफेयर्स पे बनाए जा रहे हैं, उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है आप। इंस्टेड ऑफ दैट प्रैक्टिस ऑन द PYQs। उसके फ़ायदे कई होंगे। एक, आपकी जो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है कि किस तरीके से क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा रहे हैं हर सब्जेक्ट में, वो इम्प्रूव हो जाएगी। दूसरा, आपके पास कुछ रेडीमेड टेम्पलेट्स होंगे क्वेश्चंस के ऊपर, जब आप लिखेंगे उस पर सोचेंगे, तो अगर वो थीम रिपीट हुआ, उससे रिलेटेड कुछ रिपीट हुआ, तो यू वुड हैव समथिंग इन योर माइंड कि यार ये चीज़ मैं ऑलरेडी एक बार कर चुका हूँ, तो वो चीज़ आपको हेल्प करेगी। दिसंबर के आते आते तक ऐसा नहीं है कि यार 31 दिसंबर तक मेंस लिख रहे, फिर 1 जनवरी को उठे एकदम से प्रीलिम्स स्टार्ट कर दिया, तो ऐसा कोई टाइट रूल नहीं है इसमें। आप धीरे धीरे लास्ट में दिसंबर से थोड़ा बहुत, जैसे आपने वीकेंड पे 20-25 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करके देख लिए, पहले भी कर सकते हो ऐसा। मतलब मैं बहुत ज़्यादा फिक्सचर्स में प्रिपरेशन में नहीं गया। आपका मन कर रहा है कि यार बहुत दिन हो गए मैंने MCQ सॉल्व नहीं किए, मेरा मन कर रहा है, तो बैठ के 5 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लिया आपने। ज़रूरी नहीं है कि एक, इस चीज़ को हमेशा ध्यान रखना प्रिपरेशन में, इसकी वजह से काफ़ी इश्यूज आते हैं। हम लोग कुछ प्लान करते हैं और उसको परफेक्टली करना चाहते हैं। परफेक्शनिज्म इस एग्जामिनेशन का सबसे बड़ा मिथ है कि यार मैं टेस्ट पेपर लिखूंगा, मैं पूरा टेस्ट पेपर लिखूंगा। अब वो नहीं, तो पूरा टेस्ट पेपर लिख रहे हैं और उसके चक्कर में एक क्वेश्चन भी नहीं लिख रहे हैं। तो यही चीज़ प्रीलिम्स के लिए भी जाएगी कि जरूरी नहीं है कि आपको बैठ के पूरे 100 के 100 क्वेश्चन से सॉल्व करने हैं। आपका मन नहीं कर रहा तो आप 10 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लो यार, 20 क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर लो, एटलीस्ट कुछ नहीं कर रहे उससे तो बेहतर ही वो चीज़ होगी ना। तो ये हो गया। जनवरी से अगले 4-4.5 महीने जिस तरीके का एग्जामिनेशन हो गया है, प्लीज़ डिवोट दैट टाइम टू योर प्रीलिम्स प्रिपरेशन। मतलब काफ़ी अनसर्टेनिटीज दोनों पेपर्स में आ गई हैं, तो उसको डील करने का जो बेस्ट तरीका अपने पास है वो अपनी प्रैक्टिस है यार, और उसके लिए सफिशिएंट टाइम हमें चाहिए होता है। जनवरी के बाद आप थोड़ा सा उसे स्टार्ट कर दीजिए करना। एंड यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग राइटिंग टेस्ट, घर पे क्वेश्चन सॉल्व कर रहे हैं रेगुलर बेसिस पे, वीकेंड पे जाके फुल लेंथ पेपर्स लगा ले रहे हैं, चीज़ों को बार बार वही बेसिक सोर्सेज रहेंगे, आप सोर्सेज चेंज नहीं करेंगे। किसी ने बोल दिया कि यार पूनम दलाल से आर्ट एंड कल्चर में 2 क्वेश्चन इस साल आ गए तो पूरी पूनम दलाल पढ़ने लगे, प्लीज़ वो चीज़ मत करना यार। हो सकता है वो चीज़ कहीं और भी कवर्ड हो। और ऐसे एरियाज़ को आइडेंटिफाई कर लेना जो आपको लगे कि मेरे स्ट्रॉन्ग एरियाज़ हैं, ऐसे एरियाज़ जहाँ पे मेरे लिए चीज़ें नहीं काम कर रही, देयर वुड बी एरियाज़। मेरे लिए हिस्ट्री ऐसा सेक्शन था, सबसे ज़्यादा पूरी प्रिपरेशन में हिस्ट्री पढ़ा और 4-5 क्वेश्चन सही होते, 5-6 क्वेश्चन, इससे ज़्यादा कभी सही नहीं हुए प्रीलिम्स वाले स्टेज पे। तो ऐसे एरियाज़ को आइडेंटिफाई कर लेना ताकि आपका टाइम इसमें बच सके, हम जैसे 5-6 साल प्रिपरेशन में न बैठना पड़े यार, है ना। फिर आता है सबसे जो इंटरेस्टिंग फेज होता है लास्ट वाला, प्रीलिम्स और मेंस के बीच में। अब आपका प्रीलिम्स वाला हो गया, इंश्योर कीजिए जिस दिन आप प्रीलिम्स की प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं अपने बोर्ड पे लिख लीजिए कि मुझे आईफो जो फॉरेस्ट सर्विसेज की है उसकी कट ऑफ क्लियर करनी है, मुझे 100+ मार्क्स चाहिए, ताकि जब प्रीलिम्स हो जाए उसके बाद में डिफरेंट आंसर की से बैठ के ये मिला कि ये नहीं कर रहा हूँ, बुरा फील कर रहा हूँ कि यार मैं बॉर्डर पे हूँ, मैं बॉर्डर के इस साइड हूँ, उस साइड हूँ, इन चीज़ों में न फंसना पड़े। उसके लिए अच्छा टाइम और अच्छे तरीके से जब चीज़ें करोगे तो 100 के राउंड का स्कोर हर साल ही सेफ रहता है लगभग, ठीक है। वो चीज़ करी, मेंस की प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करी, कंसोलिडेटेड चीज़ों को दोबारा रिवाइज किया, सारे के सारे टेस्ट पेपर्स, जितना टेस्ट पेपर्स जितने क्वेश्चंस लिख सकते हो उतना लिख डालो यार। मतलब हो सकता है आपको वो मौका बार बार नहीं मिलेगा, नहीं मिलता जनरली स्टूडेंट्स को। 3rd अटेम्प्ट के बाद मुझे लगा कि यार 4th अटेम्प्ट में अब तो इंटरव्यू तक चलेगी, अब तो क्या ही है इस एग्जामिनेशन में, सीधी रैंक ही आनी है, सिंगल डिजिट रैंक ही आएगी। अब अगले साल ये हुआ कि प्रीलिम्स ही नहीं हुआ फिर से। तो ये चीज़ें भी जनरली स्टूडेंट्स फेस करते हैं। कंपोज्ड रहिए। दूसरा, हर अटेम्प्ट को अपने आप में यूनिक देखिए, लास्ट अटेम्प्ट में आपने क्या किया, दोनों चीज़ें, आपने क्या अच्छा किया क्या बुरा किया, दोनों चीज़ों को छोड़ दो यार। अब हर अटेम्प्ट को अपने आप में देखना, उसकी मेरिट्स पे ही उसे उस चीज़ के साथ आगे आपको बढ़ना है। फिर आता है आपका इंटरव्यू वाला स्टेज, जो कि मतलब सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग फेज होता है, जिसमें आपको एक्चुअल में लगता है कि आप थोड़ा सा प्रिपरेशन से बाहर आ रहे हो। पहले तो यही आंसर्स, यही मॉक पेपर्स, इसी में सारा टाइम चला जाता है। उसके बाद थोड़ा सा लगता है नए कपड़े बनवाने लगते हो, सारी की सारी वो चीज़ें निकल के आती हैं यार, थोड़ा सा लाइवली फील करते हो, अच्छा फील करते हो। उसके बाद यू स्टार्ट फीलिंग, मतलब थोड़ा एम्पावर्ड भी फील करते हो, यू वुड फील दैट कॉन्फिडेंस कि यार कुछ अच्छा कर रहे हैं। उसमें भी ध्यान रखना है कि आसपास का इन्वायरमेंट आपको थोड़ा सा ये फील कराने की कोशिश करेगा कि आपने कुछ बहुत बड़ा कर दिया, कुछ बहुत तोड़ दिया आपने, तो उन चीज़ों के चक्कर में प्लीज़ मत आइएगा। जब तक आप अपना इंटरव्यू दे के नहीं आ रहे, आप में जो सिंसियरिटी है, जो डिसिप्लिन है, वो रहना चाहिए। आपने मेंस क्लियर किया है नहीं किया है, जब तक आप इंटरव्यू नहीं देंगे, वो एग्जामिनेशन साइकिल कंप्लीट नहीं होगा, आप किसी भी ऐसी चीज़ को या किसी ऐसे डिस्ट्रैक्शन को इस स्टेज पे मत आने दीजिएगा जिससे कि सारी की सारी चीज़ें खराब हो जाए। जनरली हम लोग यार मतलब हम्बल बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं, मिडिल क्लास बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं, काफ़ी पैसा भी इन्वेस्ट होता है यहाँ रह के भी और तमाम चीज़ें, तो उस चीज़ के साथ जस्टिस करना यार। कहीं टेस्ट पेपर ले रहे हो, टेस्ट सीरीज ले रहे हो, तो मेक इट अ पॉइंट कि अगर मैंने 30 टेस्ट के लिए सब्सक्राइब किया तो मैं 30 के 30 ही लिखूंगा, यहाँ पे 29 भी नहीं लिखूंगा मैं। और अगर आपने वो चीज़ कर दी तो फिर देखना थिंग्स वुड वर्क मैजिक फॉर यू। कोई सीक्रेट नहीं एग्जामिनेशन को क्लियर करने का, जैसे पढ़ते आए हो मस्ती से पढ़ो, खूब सारा लिखो, खूब सारा प्रैक्टिस करो, अच्छी अच्छी चीज़ों करो, और सेल्फ कर्स मत करना खुद को कि प्रिपरेशन में कहाँ फंस गए यार, क्या हो गया है, कब क्लियर होगा, हो जाएगा। हर चीज़ का टाइम होता है, जब वो टाइम आएगा अपने आप क्लियर हो जाएगा, आपको पता भी नहीं लगेंगी वो सारी की सारी चीज़ें। एक दिन प्रीलिम्स हो जाएगा, फिर आप मेंस की प्रिपरेशन में लगे रहोगे, फिर मेंस हो जाएगा अचानक, फिर इंटरव्यू दोगे, हो जाएगा। गिवन कि आप गिव अप नहीं करोगे इस प्रिपरेशन में, अगर आपने 1-2 साल मेहनत कर ली है प्रिपरेशन में, उसके बाद गिव अप मत करना है प्लीज़। जब तक खुद के अंदर से वो आवाज़ नहीं आ जाए कि यार अब नहीं हो रहा, शायद मेरा एप्टीट्यूड नहीं है, आसपास के लोगों से डिस्कस करना और गिव अप कभी मत करना इस एग्जाम में, क्योंकि फिर वो सारी की सारी चीज़ें रिवर्स हो जाती हैं, फिर लाइफ लॉन्ग गिल्ट रह जाता है। सीन पीपल जो कि 10 साल बाद याद करते हैं कि यार एक अटेम्प्ट और दे लिया होता उस समय तो क्या होता। ठीक है।